Hey, peace, family. Happy Thursday. It's the day after hump day, y'all. So we did a great continuum last night with the Jordans. It was off the chain. This is a special great continuum looking at black marriage. I am joined by my sister. And I really wanted to do this interview with her. Besides just loving her, I think she's awesome. And my sister dresses fierce. Ever since I've seen her, she's always been fierce.
You ditto.
But today we're going to talk about marriage. She was married for 23 years.
23 years, correct.
And then her husband made his transition. So I want to talk about your marriage and then the transition of him.
Sure.
And then how do you continue to move on to the next step after you've lost someone.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Okay.
You can allow me to do that. I'm so excited because I think this is one of the conversations we don't talk about.
Right, exactly.
Because it's not an easy subject to talk about.
No, it isn't.
So how long were you married?
I was married 23 years. November 1st, 2016 made our 23rd year of marriage.
Wow.
Yeah, and then November the 4th, he turned 53. And then November the 7th of the same year, he transitioned.
So let me ask you this: how did y'all meet?
Okay.
Just curious.
Okay.
How old were you when y'all met each other?
Look at here, y'all. Look at here. All right. So we are both originally from Stockton, California.
Stockton.
It's Stock 209. Raised and born in the projects. He was from Sierra Vista, and I was from Conway Homes.
Wait a minute, they got brothers in Stockton? I'm not trying to be funny because I always...
promise, yes.
Okay,
so
see, I done learned something,
y'all.
y'all.
There's several of them.
Okay.
So we both grew up rough.
Right.
Roy actually was 13. He's 13 years older than I. I was 19 at the time, and he was 32. And Roy had a really rough life coming up in the 70s, in and out in prison at an early age. But in 1992, he rehabilitated himself and graduated from a program called the Salvation Army, got himself a job, got himself situated, and got his son, who at the time was 8 years old.
Wow.
Well, that's right. God was in the making of recreating this, my late husband. And I was freshly out of high school, just had graduated, and I remember he had a car. Now, back in the days, we had the cars called Dayton's, go Dayton's.
Yeah, Dayton's.
Dayton's. And Jerry Curl, because it was the 90s. We in the 90s. I had a little freeze on the head. So I'm walking down the street, and he sees me and my friend on the opposite side of the street. And she's like, girl, look at who you see him. Girl, let's keep moving because he looked like he an OG. Wasn't my words. He old.
Right.
So he flipped and he came back around and he looked at us and she all over him. He looked at me and he said, no, I'm interested in you. And I was like, oh, no, you're not. You're old.
He said, no, you're not.
No, you're not. You're old. And this is a true story. He found a way to find me and he came to my house. And at the time I was living with my godmother. He told my god brother and my godmother, I'm going to marry her. And he did. He really did. He married.
Wow.
We married. We married 6 months after we met. And that was in November the 1st, 1994.
Wow. So, what was your ideas of marriage? And did you know what his ideas of marriage were?
We both, just tradition, what we were taught. Working husband, take care of the wife, have kids. That's what we were taught. And so, in our views, that's what we were supposed to do. And he did. He did. And 1995 is when I had my first one. She's 23 now. Had the first one. I was already helping him raise his oldest one, Roy, the fourth. Raising him. He was 8 at the time. And so, we were just trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out. But, working, family, having kids, wife, stay home, clean, cook, etc., etc., etc. in the early years. Because that's what I was told we were supposed to do.
So how did you work past the things you were taught?
Well,
the ones that wasn't necessarily fitting the paradigm where we are right now.
There you go. Well, something, I think, how do I put this without sounding contradicting? We were at we were both trying to figure it out. Remember I said he was locked up half his life. And the marriage, probably about the end of the first year, second year started to have issues. Infidelity. And I needed to figure, and here I'm a young woman couldn't figure it out, had no mentor, didn't know who to turn to. And I started talking to his younger sister who's still married to hers almost 50 years. Wow. And she gave me books by LaShanya Breazell.
Wow.
Okay, one day my soul opened up in those series. And she said, this is what she said. She said, if you want your marriage to work, you're going to have to work on it. Either you do one or two things. You confront him about the cheating, you work through it, or you leave. One or the other. Well, I wasn't going to leave because I just had a baby and I wanted to work through it. And the reason why I wanted to work through it was because my mommy and daddy divorced when I was 5, and there's 3 of us. And I was not going to go down. That was a cycle, a generational curse. And eventually, Roy and I, we mended. It was always issues, but we always worked through our challenges. 23 years, like I said, we worked through our challenges. And over the years, it got better. It just got better. Time, perseverance, consistency, and patience is what I would say it takes. Understanding and compromising. When you don't just see one, you see 2. It's not just about me, it's about us. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to come to if you're not able to identify who you are and what you want for yourself. So first you got to clean up your own stuff, and then you can elevate to the next level of us. We're going to do this together. We're going to walk this life together. We're going to build together. We're going to raise our family together. So,
what were some of the things that, or some of the characteristics or practices you used in your marriage that kept your marriage together for 23 years?
Again, knowing when to pick and choose my battles, knowing how to keep this mouth closed. I learned that when something happens, you don't deal with it in a moment because you're heated. Don't deal with it in the moment because you're heated. You're mad. It's best to talk about it when you're calm. And I used to write my stuff down in journals. When I used to write it down in journals. And I still practice it. Write it down in journals. And when I wrote it down, it will calm my soul. And then I will address it. And I will address it in a way where it didn't cause a conflict. Because, again, remember, I'm still in my early years learning who I am. Trying to figure out who I am. And for women and men at that time, it's different. It truly is. Women learn early. Men, some 50, 60 years old, still don't have it. But that's a different subject. But you're not always on the same wavelength. You're not going to be. But if he loves you and if he cares, he will change for you or make changes for you. Right?
That's real talk.
Right? Not trying to change, but he'll make changes for you. And when you think they're not listening, they do. Because he used to come back 2 or 3 days later and say, I heard what you said. You know what? I can't promise you a change overnight, but I'm going to work on it. And me the same.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Also, a lot of prayer. And like I said, a lot of reading from LaShanya Breazell.
Wow.
A lot of her early books and her early series. And just like I said, figuring out who LaShanya was. Because I really wanted our marriage to work. I wanted our children to grow up in a household with 2 parents. And we had goals and aspirations for our 4. We did. And so we did not want them growing up the way we did. We didn't want them experiencing the divorce and the trauma and having to do what you have to do at an early age to survive. We were not going to let our children go down that road. So when we both came to that understanding, we knew there was things we had to do to make this marriage work.
So when your husband, did he get sick? Or?
He did. And that's another thing I'm going to say to black men out there. Go to the doctor. Get yourself checked out. It's not going to go away, and doctors are not out there to kill you. Because, of course,
that's a really good... Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because that's what I heard. Roy was diagnosed with hypertension in his early years. And he knew it. He went to the doctor and they told him. And Roy was a 220 pounds big dude. I mean, husky, muscular, big dude. And he just ignored it. And this was in his early 30s. By the time he became, I say, early 40s, it had taken toll on him, not to where it broke him down, but he had to go on dialysis. Okay, wait a minute. But God still gave him a second chance because they told him, okay, you're still healthy enough. You can do dialysis at home and work. Okay?
All right.
Do your dialysis at night and go to work. Okay, but hard head always make a soft butt. Even on the days that you feel well, still do your dialysis, is what was said to Leroy. But you know, man of color, I feel fine. So he'll skip a day, skip 2 days, 3 days. And them skipping days really took a toll on him.
So he skipped days on his dialysis?
Yes, and all he had to do was at home because he felt great. And again, I say to
get
you,
that.
black men, do what your doctors say. Get yourself checked out on a regular basis. It doesn't go away. Hypertension is an internal disease, and it's a silent and deadly killer. It will eat you up in the inside. It began to wear his liver and his internal organs. And that's how he became really ill. 2000, I want to say 2000 and about 2012 or 13 is when it started to take a real big toll on him. A real big toll. But again, you know, the Bible says, till death, through sickness and through health, till death do you part. I cannot tell you the sleepless nights and the hospital visits and the scares, how many times we have. But you know what, sis, I still stuck in it. People say, if that was me, I'd put him in a home. Well, you're not me.
Right on.
And what does that teach our my babies, our children? That when something look ugly and get sick, you get rid of it? Psych. Because black marriages do last. They can. You just have to work. So we took care of him, and we took care of him. He was okay because he was able to walk. Even after he had his transplants, he was able to walk. I had him up, moving around and happy. And that's what we did for a while, like I said. And then up until October of 2016, he got, probably August, he got what they call gout or gangrene in his foot. And they kept saying it wasn't, but we knew it was. And they was prepping him to get it cut off. But again, sleepless nights, honey. He would be in so much pain. I can't even describe the moments. He would be in so much pain I would have to just rock and hold him. And they put him on the Norcos and all that. I was like, no, we're not gonna do this. We're gonna meditate. And our old school grandma said, take some onions and put it in the water and bathe his feet. I'm serious.
That's real talk, though.
So the onions brings out toxins out your body. You soak your feet in onion, it brings out toxins. And so we did that for a while. Let's back it up a little. July of 2016 is the first time I lost him. I lost him July of 16. He came home from dialysis. It was, as a matter of fact, it was July 4th of 2016. Came home from dialysis. We had a big party at our house, barbecued. And he sat out in the yard, he ate his barbecue. And then it was time for him to come in because it was getting a little nippy. And when he came in, his brother, a good long-term friend of his, Lewis, brought him in the house, and he walked over to the couch, and he said, I feel sick. I just want to sit down. And he just collapsed on the floor. He collapsed on the floor, and his eyes went in the back of his head. And I knew then that he was having a heart attack. So we're calling 911, and I'm listening. I'm feeling his pulse. His heart is getting faint. And all I can do is I started CPR. And I can see him going out of it. You know what I said? I looked down at Leroy. I said, Roy, you are not leaving me. You're not going to leave me because you told me that I didn't have to raise our 4 kids by ourselves. Now, mind you, 2 of them are grown. 1 is on her way to college. Right. But still, if I got the 2 boys who's still in high school, bruh, you said you was not going to leave me. I didn't have to raise our children by themselves. So, long story short, the ambulance came. I'm doing CPR. I'm praying over my husband. I'm speaking life into my husband. I'm speaking life. Ambulance came, and he looked at me. He said, "Who was doing CPR?" I said, "I was." He said, "Good, because we got a heartbeat." And he said, "What do you want me to do, Miss Breazell?" I said, "I want you guys to take him to the hospital because he have stuff to do." and I need his life revived. He said, well, good job for you. He said, okay, we got a heartbeat. Took him to the hospital, and they had to shut him down for a couple of days to preserve his organs. And so I remember when it was probably maybe about 3 or 4 days he was in the hospital. And it was a time I went to work, and I was on my way back there for the evening. And I think I'm sure the doctor who was at the room, I had to fire him that day. He was in the room. Now, when you're in a coma, you can hear. You just can't respond, but you can hear. So I believe the doctors and the nurses were talking over my husband, saying that if he don't revive, if he don't breathe on his own, we may have to pull the plug, etc., etc., etc. Now, mind you, I'm sure at the time, Roy did not know my state of mind, because he just know he's sick and he don't know where I'm at. So when I walk into the room, young little Asian doctor, I hate to say the nationality, but he pissed me off. I fired the whole team that day. Walked into the room, and he says to me, hey, Miss Breazell, we need to talk about your husband and what we're going to do next and next steps. And I'm looking at him like, what you mean the next steps? You guys going to wake him up in a couple of days because you shut him down for a couple of days to preserve his organs, right? Yeah, but Miss Breazell, it doesn't look good for him. He's an older black male, and I know all the symptoms. I know what's going on with him. What are you trying to tell me? Well, if he's on the tube, because they had him on the tube, if he don't start breathing on his own, we may have to consider pulling the plug. And I remember looking at that guy and said, look, I don't know where you from, but black people, we don't pull plugs. We don't pull plugs. If it be 20 years and he's still breathing some life, if it's allowed, he will be on the machine, whatever. We don't pull plugs. Well, we have to be optimistic, really trying to insult me. And then I just remember looking over to my husband, and I'm telling you, Rolanda, doggone it, that machine just started. The heart just da-da-da-da-da. And I knew then he heard, and they were talking over him in the beginning. So I said, okay, you know what? I said, did you guys have this conversation in the room with him earlier, you and your team? And he said, yeah, I think we did. And then I remember saying, well, let's stop here. I said, I want you and your team, you guys can no longer care for my patient. First of all, you confidentiality, because the room door was open. I said, number 2, you violated our rights. You do not talk over a patient or discuss issues like that over a patient when you know they can hear.
That's right.
And number 2, the way you approach me, like basically you're insulting me, like, let's talk about it. You're telling me what you want me to do. I said, so are you serious? Are you going to fire me? I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't care. This is the husband, my 4 children, my partner of over 2 decades. So I fired the whole team. And that same night, I remember I got a new doctor, new team, and I was happy with them. Older, because, I know he had experience, and he was more empathetic. And I remember in the room, I told the nurse, her name was Judy. I said, Judy, I'm going to shut the door because I don't want nobody to hear what I'm going to say to my husband, Roy. And I said, but she had to stay in there because he was on a machine and he was breathing. I mean, so every so often we have to clean out the saliva. So she had to stay in there and monitor him. So I remember looking over him. I said, Roy, I said, look, this is a Friday. I said, you have until Monday to start breathing on your own. You will breathe. I said, by the time Monday come, you will be breathing on your own, Leroy. I said, and I mean it. I said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to get some sleep. You may breathe tomorrow. I don't care. I said, but by the time Monday come, you'll be breathing on your own. This is a true story. I was at home. It was a Saturday morning. I slept in because I was tired. And I guess I had my phone on silent because when I finally looked at it, I got all these missed calls. And I knew it was them because it was a blocked number. And I'm thinking, oh, shit. Excuse me. What happened? What's going on? I'm racing to the hospital. And the same nurse, she was supposed to go home. She said, I wanted to stay here until you came because I remember you saying you was going to come. So she said, I slept here because I wanted to tell you this. She said, I don't know what kind of love you have or what kind of hold you have on your husband, but the hour after you told him you wanted him to breathe, he pulled that tube out of his mouth. And I looked at Roy, and damn it, he was breathing on his own. Then got up and pulled the tube out of his mouth and was breathing on his own. She said, I don't know what. And I just told her, I said, Roy has always been the man. If I told him to jump over the Whatever Shanya says, he would do it. He would tell me that in our later years now. In the later years of marriage, whatever Shanya say do, Roy would do it. I said, but he knows there was an expectation. So, and I think he needed to get some things right. So God revived him, and he preserved him for July up until November. Because at the end of October, he went back into the hospital. And that's when I finally had to face the truth. That's when the doctor, his team, and I'll trust her, she said, look, we can make him comfortable, but if he refuses to eat, and which he was doing, and if he refuses dialysis,
that's definitely a sign.
If he refuses dialysis, which he was doing, we can only make him comfortable. So I went in the room. Now, Roy's coherent. So I went in the room, and I said, look, Roy, you're not eating. I said, you're not drinking water like you're supposed to. You're not taking, you're not going to letting them allow them to do your dialysis, baby. She's saying that it's not looking good. And you know what? He looked at me and said, Shanya, it's okay. That Shanya, okay, I knew. Shanya, you need to back off and let God do what he got to do because he's preparing this child to transition. So you need to step back and let that happen. You know that was the hardest thing.
I was like, that could not have been easy. That could not have been easy.
God, I went home and I cried my eyes out. Oh, I cried. And by this time, my mama had moved in with me to help me. And she said, baby, you just got to let it happen. So, but still stubborn. I'll still go to the hospital. You going to live and you going to eat. I'm chewing up the food, putting it in his mouth. And he's like, I'm not hungry. Spit it out. And I'm telling you how God has the power of showing you who he is, though. It was the Sunday before he transitioned. I said, Mom, I had came from church. I said, Mama in there cooking. She cooking greens, and baby, I'm going to feed you. I said, okay. I'm so tired. I laid on the couch. It was about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. After I came from the hospital, brought him burgers and stuff, and said, when I come back, you better have this 8. Now, I'm going to ask the nurse, and he looked at me and said, yeah, whatever. And okay, I love you, Shanya. I said, okay, I love you, but you better eat. You bossy. Went home, laid on the couch. It could have been about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Laid on the couch. I said, Mama, wake me up around 5 because I'm going to go see Roy. Because I know by that time they're done with their rounds and dinner and all that mess. So I laid on that couch, and I'm telling you, when 5 o'clock came, my mama woke me up, and I heard her say it, and it was like, wait, I was just so tired. I could not move from that couch. I could not move from that couch. I believe then that's when God was preparing him. Because I called the hospital. When I finally woke up, it was like 12 o'clock in the morning. I called the hospital. They said, Miss Breazell, he had a good day. He's been resting all day. I said, okay, well, that brings me comfort. They said, well, you want to talk to him? I said, no, I'll just see him in the morning. So the next morning, it was around 7:30. I was taking number 3, who's at Stanislaus right now. He was in Sac High, taking him to school. And as I was coming back towards the hospital, I got the call. And the doctor said, Miss Breazell, Leroy passed away last night in his sleep. Oh, no, she said, Leroy passed away, we believe, last night in his sleep. Early this morning, we're going to try to revive him. And I told the doctor, no, do not revive him. If he passed away in his sleep, that's the way he's supposed to go. He said, are you sure? Because you didn't sign the waiver that said I said, I'm letting you know. Let him be. Miss Sister Rolanda, when we got to the hospital, it was my mom, my stepson, my youngest son, and my oldest daughter. When we got there, there's a certain way Roy slept. Certain position he would be in. When I looked at him, when I say all the worry and wrinkles and stress was off his face, he was at peace. It was as if he was laying there sleeping. And I looked, and this calmness came over my soul. And my mama said, well, baby, that's the way he was supposed to go. And that's exactly what happened. That's how he was supposed to go. Peacefully. Am I over it? Each day gets better. You can never put a time frame on when
you can't prepare for nothing like that.
Yeah. I'm glad. I almost feel like God was preparing me for it. When I look back over the events, I'm glad to have been part of his life. I'm glad to have given him 4 beautiful children, 2 girls and 2 boys. The girls are the oldest. 23 is Miss Laretha. She'll be finishing up at American River College this summer with her teaching degree in early childhood education. Number 2 is 21. That's LaShanya. She is in her 3rd year at USCS Santa Cruz, majoring in law, business law. Number 3 is, he just turned 19 in January 15th. He is in his 1st year at UC Stanislaus, and the youngest one will be 18 in May, and he'll be graduating from high school this June.
Wow.
So when I look back, and I remember saying, raising them by myself, I remember just laying there thinking that, well, he left, and I have to raise these kids by myself. And then this spirit or calming came over me and said, no, he didn't. He got you halfway through the door. You just got to walk through it. And I was worried about the boys, how I'm going to teach them how to be men. And over the years, Roy taught them just what they needed to know. Because when Daddy passed away, man, them dudes take care of Mama and them sisters. It's like this whole transition came over them to where they went from boys to men. And they are. They do. I'm very proud of them because it could be worse. It could be worse. And even with my daughters, I'm proud of them. Like I said, they love their mama, they honor their father, and I can see the wisdom and the knowledge that we instilled in them over the years that was not instilled in us. That was not. We had to wing it, but it's trial and error. So we went from raising to now I'm guiding. And that is a gift, like I said, to have babies of color graduate from high school and go through all they had to go through, lose a father, and then continue in college and finishing. That is a blessing in itself.
Yes, it is.
So sometimes I get in my moment and then I remember, you know what? No. Because you honored your vows, God acknowledged that. And you stuck with him through sickness, through health, to death do you part. And God acknowledged that. And I'm proud to say now I'm in a pretty good relationship with another man. I'm in a good relationship with him. He's patient with me because I have stuff still. And I think he's patient with me because God knows I'm still a work in progress.
Right
you know that still got
right
stuff.
On.
And he's patient with me and working with me because he knows all that my family has been through. And again, I think that's because of what I've been through and because I honored those vows and because I believed in God and I knew that marriage was supposed to work. Because people have that black marriages don't exist.
Yeah,
That's a whole lie.
Yeah.
People used to look at us retarded walking down the street. Like, really? That's a whole black family intact.
It exists.
It exists. You just
totally
gotta
exists.
work on it.
How did you, I don't know how to say, how did you move through, like, your husband, now he's made a transition to dating someone else?
How do I put this? Well, and I didn't go looking for him. Just say I did not go looking for him. I really do feel like it's God's plan. I tell you why.
Okay.
This young man has known me for quite some time. When I met him, he knew I was married. Okay? What I didn't know is he had a crush on me. But guess what? He never disrespected, never said anything, never gave any indication, never crossed the line, period. Right? Never did. So it's not like it's somebody I just met. I know him. And he's a good man, has 4 kids, 1 finished college, all girls, 1 finished college. The second one is in her 2nd year of college. 1 is a junior at she goes to Sava, and the 3rd one is a freshman at Sac High. Hard-working man. He's a Jamaican Rastaman. So, but he's a good guy. So I believe, and like I said, from day one, it's been about Shanya, catering to Shanya. You know what my problem was? Not kind of used to that. So I had to, figure out, well, what's your agenda? What do you, what's really going on
that.
here? What's really going on here? Well, it ain't. Sometimes you can sabotage your stuff too.
Yeah.
So you got to be patient. Again, working on me. Trust issues. Got to get it together. But he's patient, and I'm learning to love him. Learn to love him.
Do you see any characters between him and your?
A whole bunch. Even my oldest daughter said it. My oldest daughter say it all the time. Doggone, you remind me of my daddy.
What are some of those characteristics?
Big, stocky, dark-skinned. Both of them are die-hard 49er fans to the fifth power.
Sorry.
Because Andrew and Roy are around the same age, I'm sure they grew up in the same era. You know how it was back in the days in the 90s or certain things. He listened to certain music I know my husband listens to. So if you're getting to do you think there's reincarnation, or do you think the spirit? I do. Is the spirit around? I do.
I can see that.
I do. I really do. He'll say things sometimes. I'll be like, I've heard that before, but it's okay. It's okay with me. It's calming. He talks to my kids. He's gentle to them, which they need, especially those girls. He and number two are very close. And I hear him saying things to her that I know her dad would have said to her. I really do. I really, and I hear him talking to my son that I know his dad would have said. Now, mind you, this dude got 4 girls. But he interacts with the boys just as well as he does the ladies. So I do feel that way. I always say, and I tell my kids all the time, when things are happening to them in a good manner, and I say, hey, that's just your dad. Your dad is around. He's protecting you. I always tell them, I say, I feel like he had to transition because he'll become stronger to us in spirit than he was in his latter days when he became sick.
That's real talk.
I really believe that. I said, so his spirit is around, is strong for us. It's strong for our unit because things are happening the way it's supposed to. So you'll be always in good hands. You're always in good hands. That's what I tell them. So yes.
Did y'all have, with your ex-wife, ex-husband, did y'all have any conversations about that day that would come one day when he would no longer be here?
All the time. All the time we talked about that. Probably a year before, I remember, and I'll share this. I didn't say it to him. I'm a dreamer, so I have visions and I dream. And Lord knows I'm learning to accept them, because you don't talk about stuff and you can't be sharing it with people because people look, you got to know your audience. But it's something I can't take away, that I can see things or visions. Or dream. I can't help that. I'm learning how to embrace it. A year before my husband passed away, I had a dream that he was just the way he passed away in that bed at the hospital, the same. I think that's why it didn't really bother me when I seen it. I didn't go hysterical because I was like, oh, deja vu. I've seen this before. A year before, we were laying in the bed, and I know he was next to me, and I was sleeping, and I just had this vivid dream of him. I woke up, and I went to the bathroom. I came back, and he was laying there, and I knew I didn't have to touch him, that he had passed. Where a year later, guess what? That vision came true. So I think that was God's way of preparing me. Even when he had the heart attack on the ground in the living room, I was willing to say, Lord, look, it's your will, but if there's something I can do. And that's why I started speaking life into him, because I think he needed to come back and make some things right. I do. So there were some issues he was having with our oldest, our oldest son, his son, and he needed to make that right. There was some other issues he needed to make right with his sister, and he was able to do that. He was able to do that before he passed. So, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think there was a lot of things that kind of prepared me for that moment. And when it's peaceful and you're prepared, it's better. You can accept it better versus tragic. I think no death is good, but when you kind of prepare for it,
I get that.
you can take it a little better. kind of digest and say, okay, I know this is coming. I have to, live with it. I have to do what I have to do to adjust. But when it's tragic, I think that's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. So yes, I do feel like we had conversations and he knew it. Like I told you, that last Shanya, it's okay. Boom, right there. Oh, because usually when Roy say it's okay, like, Shanya, it's going to be all right. Then okay, you got this. That's what I'm, all right, King, you got this. But that was, you need to chill out. I'm making peace with what's going to happen. You need to. It's okay, Shanya. And I was like, oh, Lord, no, he didn't just tell me that. Oh, God. So I know what that meant. But, yeah.
How do you honor his memory?
Well, I have 4 of them. Every day. If you see the youngest one, my youngest one, what my daughter would do, I'll get back to it. My youngest one looked like his daddy every day. So every day I look at him like, oh, Lord Jesus, okay, this is your daddy standing all over. He talked like him, walked like him, says things like him, got that common street sense like his papa. Right. I'm the whole replica of him, just younger. But my daughter, on his birthday, will do balloons, and she'll release them in the air, or something like that. Or I just gave her the, because I used to had his ashes, and I would go talk to him when something would go wrong. I just gave those to her, but she would release balloons, and she'll say, okay, Mama, I'm gonna release balloons in Daddy's honor. I said, okay. So wherever she would go, we would just go and release balloons, 49 balloons. So but like I said, every day, I just keep on keeping on, and I promise him I will raise our babies. Or no, not raise, they're grown. I will guide our babies so that they are productive young people in a society, and just have a far better life than we did. I promise. And I'm going to continue that.
So this is my final question. In your new relationship, how do you... Because the other person is now no longer here, but is that ever? How do you honor that part of your life in your new relationship, or you don't?
Okay, let me see. Well, I do and I don't. I mean, it's not like it's a secret. If I have my moment, I'll get to myself and he'll ask what's going on. Well, I just need a moment. But I think I'm gonna say I'm over it per se. But I'm in a place where I made peace, and I know I have to move on. I have to move on. And I believe he will want me to be happy and move on. I'm sure he wants me to be happy and move on. So, again, I think, because somebody else asked me a question, to honor him, again, is to look at 1, 2, 3, and 4 and continue what we started. Our legacy. And I remind 3 and 4, that's the boys. Your father legacy lives through you. And I don't let them forget. Even when they go through some stuff, because Roy used to say, Breazells don't cry. Breazells don't give up. Breazells don't break down like a 310 shotgun. He was so old school. He was so old school. And when they're going through their stuff, or if I'm going through something, that voice will pop in my head. You a Breazell. Breazells don't cry. Breazells don't give up. Breazells fight. So I also say that to my children. So there's little things over the years he would say, or we would say to each other, hey, what would your daddy say? Stop it. What would your daddy do? Nope, that's not what your daddy, no, this is what daddy would say. And that's how I honor him. That's how I honor him. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. You don't hide the fact that it's not like I was divorced. It's not like I'm divorced.
Right.
There's a whole different. It ain't like I came out of a messy relationship and I'm divorced and it was drama. No, because if he was alive, I would still be with him. That was my husband, my partner. So it's not like I got to tiptoe and not talk about him in my new relationship, because that's not okay. No, especially when I got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That, that's daddy. That's Roy.
Wow.
Yes, so.
That's awesome. That's awesome, but it's powerful in the same way. It's like, man, that's just so awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
thank you for having me.
This was so awesome because I think you gave some history. You talked about that in sickness and in health. Like,
to death do you part.
To death do you part. And you did all the 3 of them.
No.
And though it wasn't easy, I think that's a part of when we talk about marriage. that is a part of marriage.
It is. It is. It truly is. It is. And it has to be honored. It has to be honored, and it has to be. And like I said, a lot of the generations that came after us don't know what that concretely is.
I agree.
The generation that don't know what that concretely is because a lot of them weren't raised in a traditional household either.
They don't understand that.
They don't understand that. Who taught them that? See? So that's something that has to be instilled, or you have to understand it and learn on your own. And I believe there is no such thing as you can go by this set of rules. Marriage is, look, let's figure out what works for us.
I keep hearing people say that. I keep hearing people
work
say
for
that.
us, because what's working for us may not work for them.
Yes, so true. That is so true.
And that comes from communication and understanding and compromising and listening to hear and not to respond, because that's a hard thing to do.
Thank you so much. I so enjoyed talking with you.
Yes.
Y'all, I'll see y'all in a couple of days. Peace, family.
All right.
Hold on.